The following recording is one of the 38 workshops presented by and for members of the Adult Children of Alcoholics Fellowship at the 7th Annual ACA World Convention held virtually May 21st and 22nd, 2022. The AWC is hosted by the ACA World Service Organization and was made possible through the dedication and energy of ACA members giving service by sharing their experience, strength, and hope. Please visit the adultchildren.org website for more information about ACA, for worldwide ACA meeting listings, or to make a 7th tradition contribution. We hope that you enjoy the following workshop from the 7th Annual ACA World Convention, and the theme was Beyond Mere Survival, Action Coming from Love.
Hi. Welcome to this workshop, Belonging, Connection and Purpose. I am your chair and my name is Claire and I'm an adult child located in Sydney. And I believe we need to share these PowerPoints and welcome, good morning, good afternoon and good evening to our workshop and ACA Worldwide ACA Fellowship. Welcome to our 7th Annual ACA World Convention. This is the largest gathering of adult children in the world, connecting our ACA members, our family of choice, to each other all over the planet to share experience, strength, and hope as we recover from the effects of dysfunctional childhoods. While the pandemic brought challenges to us all, it also brought us together as a truly global fellowship as we found belonging and connection with others, healing from the effects of family dysfunction. This convention is being hosted by the ACA World Service Organization, WSO, and our theme this year is Beyond Mere Survival, Action Coming from Love. This year we have 38 sessions, running nearly 40 hours around the clock and around the world. As I said, my name is Claire. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Our co-chair is Omid, and I invite him to come on in. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. My name is Omid. I'm an adult child calling from Sydney, Australia. I'd like to read the anonymity reading. To preserve everybody's anonymity, the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, please be sure to rename yourself to show only your first name and last initial. This session is being Zoomed worldwide as well as being broadcast on a streaming channel and audio recorded. The audio will be available for listening and download on the adultchildren.org website. We therefore ask that you do not record any audio, video, or take any pictures of any part of the AWC. We also request that you not share the Zoom links on any social media, website, or email lists. Registration will be open throughout the event and anybody can register. This is to protect the serenity of the event and we thank you for your cooperation. I'd also like to read the safety slide. During the meeting, all participants will be muted. Chat will be closed to all, but you will be able to contact the host at all times. Please do not send chat messages to the presenter unless prompted to do so. When a volunteer is requested to read or ask or answer a question, please use the Zoom raise hand feature at that time. You will be asked to unmute when it's your turn to speak. The chat feature will only be open for participants before and after the main session, or if asked by the presenters to post questions or otherwise interact within the meeting via this function. Please remember that what you hear at this meeting should remain at this meeting. We do not talk about another person's story or experiences to other people. Please respect the privacy of all those who share with us today. While we are on video, please be mindful of others and turn off your video if you are eating, smoking, not currently in view, example, cameras showing the ceiling, moving around, or in a public area with other people present. Thank you.
We meet to share the experience we had growing up. in an environment where abuse, neglect, and trauma infected our childhoods and still affects us today. While our members may be from homes where addiction was present, it is not a requirement. The only requirement for membership in ACA is the desire to recover from the effects of growing up in an alcoholic or otherwise dysfunctional environment. We practice the 12 steps and accepting that we can't recover alone. We identify with the problem or laundry list and learn to live in the solution of reparenting ourselves with gentleness, humor, love, and respect one day at a time. Please join me in the opening our meeting with the ACA Serenity Prayer with whatever language or way calls your heart.
Okay, we'll just take a moment to breathe. Thanks to the higher power of your understanding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know that one is me.
That one is me.
Just like to ask
It's time.
Lawrence if he would read the crosstalk statement for us, please.
Thanks, Claire. I'm Lawrence. I'm an adult child and I live in Sydney, Australia. Sharing and crosstalk. An important part of our recovery is speaking our truth by sharing our story, experiences, and feelings. Sharing is one of the first steps we take when coming out of isolation. To create a safe place to open, please refrain from interrupting, making comments, referring to someone else's share, whether positively or negatively, mentioning someone by name, or offering advice. This is referred to as crosstalk. In ACA, we avoid crosstalk because as children we were frequently interrupted, insulted, or told we were wrong when we were trying to express our thoughts and feelings. In ACA, we speak for ourselves and our own unique perspectives without the need to qualify because it is true for us. We do this by sharing from our personal experience using I, me, and my, and avoid speaking for the group as a whole by not using we, you, or and us when sharing. We keep the focus on ourselves and don't need to identify with or fix others.
Thank you, Lawrence. And now we'll have the solution. Omid, would you like to do that now?
Thank you, Claire. The solution is to become your own loving parent. As ACA becomes a safe place for you, you will find freedom to express all the hurts and fears you have kept inside and to free yourself from the shame and blame that are carryovers from the past. You will become an adult who is imprisoned no longer by childhood reactions. You will recover the child within you, learning to accept and love yourself. The healing begins when we risk moving out of isolation. Feelings and buried memories will return. By gradually releasing the burden of unexpressed grief, we slowly move out of the past. We learn to reparent ourselves with gentleness, humor, love, and respect. This process allows us to see our biological parents as the instruments of our existence. Our actual parent is a higher power whom some of us choose to call God. Although we had alcoholic or dysfunctional parents, our higher power gave us the 12 steps of recovery. This is the action and work that heals us. We use the steps, we use the meetings, we use the telephone. We share our experience, strength, and hope with each other. We learn to restructure our sick thinking one day at a time. When we release our parents from responsibility for our actions today, we become free to make healthful decisions as actors, not reactors. We progress from hurting to healing to helping. We awaken to a sense of wholeness we never knew was possible. By attending these meetings on a regular basis, you will come to see parental alcoholism or family dysfunction for what it is, a disease that infected you as a child and continues to affect you as an adult. You will learn to keep the focus on yourself in the here and now. You will take responsibility for your own life and supply your own parenting. You will not do this alone. Look around you and you will see others who know how you feel. We will love and encourage you no matter what. We ask you to accept us just as we accept you. This is a spiritual program based on action coming from love. We are sure that as the love grows inside you, you will see beautiful changes in all your relationships, especially with your higher power, yourself, and your parents.
Thank you so much, Enid and Lawrence, for reading those. So the idea that being fully active in our recovery includes being of service. Any amount of service can create connection for our inner children to be part of a worldwide community and truly belong. Our collective experience from hurting to healing to helping is the highway of our shared community and promises us a purposeful recovery. The first part of our workshop, Belonging, Connection and Purpose, has 4 speakers up to 8 minutes each, which will be followed by questions directly to the panel. And there may be time for some 2 to 3-minute shares as well. I'd like our speakers to introduce themselves, just stating their name and where they're from. Jasmina.
Hello, I'm Yasmina. Grateful adult child, gratefully growing in this program. I'm in New York, but I am from Auckland, New Zealand originally. So I'm on the East Coast of US right now.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Yasmina.
Omid.
Hi, my name is Omid. I'm an adult child from Sydney, Australia, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Hi, Omid. Mary.
I'm Mary. I'm an adult child and I'm from Melbourne, Australia.
Hey, Mary, welcome. And Lawrence, our final speaker.
Hi, I'm Lawrence, I'm an adult child and I live in Sydney, Australia.
Hi, thank you. Thanks to our panel. So I'll call in our first speaker, Jasmina, who will share for up to 8 minutes. Would you like a 1-minute warning at 7 minutes, Jasmina?
Can I have a 3-minute and a 1-minute warning?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll do the
Okay.
timing, no problem.
Yeah, that
Thank
kind
you.
of, sometimes I get, it's just gonna help me, like, sometimes 1 minute is too short. It's like, oh my God, I have to wrap up. So, helps.
Lovely. Thank you.
Should I go?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay, all right.
The floor
Yes,
is
sure.
yours.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Yasmina, and as I said, I'm in New York, but I am from Auckland, New Zealand. So it's great to be part of a panel that's created by Australia. It's so great to see everyone here. Anyway, so the topic of how service helps my recovery. Well, for me, like when I joined the program, I first entered service really because my sponsor was said, if you really want your recovery to grow, you should think of service. And, I was very new in the program at the time. And all I really wanted to know, I wanted the pain that I was feeling to stop. And I already knew that being part of this program was helping that. And I was willing to do anything that's going to help that. So I entered service because my sponsor told me to, but it very quickly became clear. I started doing stuff in a meeting. I think I started being a timekeeper first, and then I was the person bringing the cookies. That was a fun thing to do, and straight away, I started understanding why doing service, why my sponsor told me to do that, because, and this is a little bit about my background. Growing up in a dysfunctional family with alcoholics, alcoholics, narcissists, drama, I definitely learned to isolate, be very self-reliant, to keep things to myself. And I would always kind of compensate by being a hero and rescuer of others, which kind of would just deepen my isolation from everyone. And I was very high functioning in a sense that I learned to make decisions very quickly, because in my family of origin, if you didn't do that, then someone else was going to bulldoze over you. My family of origin definitely didn't have any kind of collaborative method of decision making. It was always who is the strongest will in the house. That's the will that wins, and everybody else just doesn't get a voice. So yeah, I was kind of high functioning, but I was alone. I would always do it all by myself, and I was in a lot of pain. And from the moment I started doing service, like from the moment I started bringing cookies, to the meeting, basic stuff, it made me meet people. It got me out of my isolation. I started actually having chats with people in the meetings, and I started having like another purpose, and people would like remember my name. It just kind of just straight away helped with the sense of belonging, and actually kind of helping me realize that I am isolating, and I have this barrier between myself and other people. And then I did all the different things I was a chair, I was a treasurer. There was things I liked more, like I didn't like being a treasurer. Too many numbers. I like being a chair. I like being a greeter. That was super fun because I would get to meet newcomers, which was always so cool. I think I really like the roles that I liked was the roles that really helped me get out of my isolation. So that's kind of started being service that I started doing, because that was service that was out of love for me. I was doing my steps, and then I really wanted my recovery to grow more. And this is really where, besides learning the steps, I kind of started getting really interested in traditions and concepts. And I started kind of realizing how amazing they are, and how they have in them some wisdoms that I did not like, lessons that I didn't get in my family of origin, of how to relate to other people, to the world, to groups, how to listen, how to collaboratively make decisions, how to not jump to conclusions, how to listen to minority opinion. And I really wanted to actively practice them. And that's kind of when I entered like service above the group level into group.
3 minutes, Yasmina.
Thank you. I first joined like an intergroup at my local intergroup, and that was the first time I kind of experienced being in a group of people that were so vastly different from me, yet they could do complex decisions in respectful, more slow-paced, informed, knowledge-based way. And that was so healing and revolutionary for me, because it was so different from what I grew up with, what I learned, how I learned to function in the world, what was, especially in my high function, was often rewarded. And it really helped me feel part of a bigger whole. And it really actually helped me trust my higher power even more. And it was really all based on, like my local intergroup, they all were like basing their decisions on they were always quoting traditions. They were always quoting concepts. And I kind of realized that with those kind of guiding principles, with that template that traditions and concepts give, any group can function well, and I can be part of that group, and I don't need to please. I don't need to make my decision quickly and then make everyone else realize that's the best decision. I can go in open-minded and listen to what other people say, and sometimes that changes my opinion. and that all of that kind of decision making will be done in a respectful, principles-based way. Thank you. And that kind of inspired me then to join the board of WSO, where it's the same thing, just more. And I love it. Like, I love practicing something different every day that I serve. So I learn, I remember my body, my soul, my mind learns a new way of doing things that is different than my family of origin. And that's kind of what I get out of doing service, is like rebirth. It's so hard to explain the joy. Like, I get joy of working with my fellow travelers and experiencing something so different that gives me belonging. It's like kind of what the workshop says. It gives me belonging. It gives me purpose. It gives me, tools to be in the world, and be.
That's time.
Thank you. And be a joyful person of service. But it also serves me. Like, I get so much out of it. And that's all I have to share. So thanks for letting me share. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Yasmina, for opening our meeting. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing the midnight shift for us and staying, I hope, for questions at the end. So, Omid, would you like to take the floor, please?
Thank you, Claire. I'm okay to time myself, so I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Omid. I'm an adult child of a dysfunctional family, and I make that distinction because I didn't come from a family with alcoholism or addiction per se, but as the traits say, we either become alcoholic, marry them, or both. And I did both. I'm grateful for my other fellowship, which helped me get clean and sober. I recently celebrated my 12th year of sobriety, which I'm very grateful for. And my story of service starts in another fellowship, and it led me actually to coming to ACA. My first service in my other fellowship was, I think, in my first 3 months of sobriety, my daughter had just been born. I was going to meetings, I was a house husband. So I was the primary carer for my baby daughter, and I was taking her around to meetings with me, changing her nappies on the carpet of the meeting floor in the circle. I was very grateful for a lot of support I got from the other members. It wasn't easy trying to get clean and sober and raising an infant, and my son was about 2.5 at the time. And a member came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to be of service? This meeting just needs someone to collect the 7th tradition and put it in an envelope and slip it through the church office door." And I was scared, but I did it. And that's how it started for me. And for the next 10 years, I ensured I had some type of service position, if not 2, at any given moment. And certainly it helped me stop isolating. It put me in the middle of the fellowship. And it also allowed me to connect in the fellowship in a way that I probably wouldn't have if I hadn't done service. But here's the ACA stuff. What I didn't realize at the time, because I was blind to my codependency, I was blind to my rescuing, caretaking behavior. It was just so second nature to me. It was like drinking water. was that I was seeking validation. I was seeking approval, and I was seeking rescuing and caretaking. And, you know, here I was being applauded for it to some degree, you know, having a sponsor, having sponsees, all allowed me to some degree to recreate my childhood family systems and connections, you know, the enmeshment, the codependency. And I didn't realize it, you know, for years. And I wondered why I would have problematic relationships in recovery, and become very triggered by, you know, even doing group consciences. I mean, service helped me confront some of those triggers and understand how to bring spiritual principles to those settings. But it didn't transfer, and I found myself often in my own family situations being triggered by the very same, you know, feeling anger and resentment. And, you know, 2 years ago, my journey in ACA started, and it started with an emotional rock bottom, where I basically just gave up. I didn't, you know, relapse or use any substance. I just gave up on myself. And I was fortunate enough to be, someone suggested to me to come to ACA, and I came to my first meeting, and it felt instantly like home, you know, and it was talking about what I needed to talk about. My issue was no longer with staying clean and sober. My issue was how do I stay emotionally sober? And I think what I'm learning in ACA is the codependency, which was in my blind spot for years, informs where my service comes from. You know, we talk a lot in fellowship about service coming from love and doing the right thing for the right reason. And, you know, every day, whether I'm doing something like this or I'm just timing at a meeting or reading a reading at a meeting, I'm confronting my own codependency and ACA traits. I'm dealing with my fear of authority figures. I'm dealing with my other laundry list traits of taking control, of being fiercely independent. The fear of not, you know, my perfectionism and doing something wrong, of other people doing something wrong and needing to call that out. Service teaches me in ACA, especially, I'm learning how to take care of me and let others be. You know, often someone will ask in a big meeting for someone to time keep or read a reading, and I have this urge to step up. But I'm learning sometimes to talk to my inner family and say, hey, it's okay. You can let someone else take over, or you don't have to be responsible for everyone. And these are completely new lessons for me. And I'm very grateful for ACA, because without ACA, I wouldn't have gone into the deeper levels of why I became an alcoholic or an addict in the first place, or why I had trouble setting boundaries with my own loving family, and why I keep recreating the dysfunctional dynamics of my childhood, even in my recovery relationships, whether I'm a sponsor, sponsee, fellow traveler, group member. And the biggest lesson, and I'd like to end on this, is trauma lives in my body. And I have learned over time that as a child, I didn't know I didn't have the ability to walk away from dysfunctional or toxic situations. Often I had no agency to do so, or I felt compelled to stick it out and make it right or fix it, or, you know, as they say, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Service has also taught me when to walk away, that I'm not stuck in a cage. The door is always open. And as an adult, and as a loving parent, I have the ability to keep my inner family safe. And I can walk away from toxic situations. It may not be what's comfortable or it feels right to me. But in time, I'm learning that it's the healthy decision, and often it's my higher power's will for me rather than my own. And for that, I'm grateful. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much for that share. Thank you. And Hamid, would you like to introduce the next speakers, please?
Thanks, Claire. Mary R., would you like to share? And would you like a 1-minute warning, Mary?
I've got my own timer, thanks, Hamid. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
When my mother died, that was a real bottom for me, because my sisters were not going to speak. There was going to be a real rift amongst the family, and they would never, ever be together again under the one roof. And for me, I just absolutely fell into the black hole of my abandonment. And what shattered for me was the illusion that I actually had ever belonged, that illusion that I had a family, that I belonged to a family, because I've never really ever belonged. And I just went into a total pit of intense isolation. I stopped responding to anyone. I stopped answering emails or text messages, and I just basically couldn't leave the house unless I had to go shopping. And I stayed like that for ages, and I could not do anything about it. And I had tried for a very long time to heal and to get recovery, and I couldn't find anything that made a difference. And after quite a long time, probably 2 years of this, I went back to work. I'd retired. Before my mother died, I'd retired, and I just couldn't do retirement. I couldn't live. I couldn't cope. I couldn't make life worth living at all. I just couldn't scratch myself, literally. So I went back to work casually as the only thing I could manage to do. And then I went to CODA for a while, and I am highly codependent, but it's not the program where I can actually heal. And after a while, after a couple of years, I actually found the book, The Body Reads, Body Keeps a Score, and read that. And that was the first time I had any idea what had been the matter with me all of my life, and why all of the different things I'd tried, all the counselling, spiritual groups, all these things had not made any difference in my life whatsoever. So I went to ACA, and by that stage, my isolation was so deeply entrenched. I could be there and I would know that ACA is the place for me. It was the place where, for the first time in my life, I felt understood. For the first time in my life, I understood what was the matter with me. I could not believe that the literature knew what was wrong. And I started doing service in ACA for two primary reasons. One reason was because I could not break through this intense isolation to connect with anyone. And in my desperation to belong, I would do service. And I would do service because I just believe it's the right thing to do. So I've got that sense of responsibility. I get something, I give something back. But the other reason was to try and help me get past the barrier that's so deep in my body, that's been there since I was born, of not feeling safe, of really not feeling safe. I knew that these ACA people were my people, but I still couldn't get through. I couldn't get through. I can't get past myself. I can't get past what's in my body. And so I started doing service for that, and I did. I was treasurer, did chaired meetings, did all that sort of stuff. And one of the face-to-face meetings had a lunch afterwards, and that was, I would do service at that meeting a lot because I needed that lunch, because my body needs to be with other bodies to learn that it can be safe with other human beings, because it's never had that experience. And I need those face-to-face meetings. And then COVID came, and that was the end of that. And I found a Tony A meeting, and I really want the Tony A steps. I need the Tony A steps. I need that gentleness, and I need that love to try and break down this barrier in me. And that meeting almost collapsed. And so I started doing a lot of service there with another member to keep the meeting afloat. And I stepped up in a way that for me is quite challenging, because I have a great fear of being seen and of being seen. I've got a huge fear of being seen. And so I stepped up and did a lot of service there, did screen sharing and secretary and all that sort of stuff. And that went on for quite a while. And then there were issues at the meeting. There were things that happened. And in the past, I would have only moved away. I would have withdrawn, stepped back, disappeared, because that was my only coping strategy for stress and difficulty, was either to get really cross temporarily, like for 30 seconds, get really cross, or just completely disappear, but primarily to disappear. And because of ACA, I didn't do that. I talked to other people. I shared my difficulties with this. I didn't know really what to do. And at that stage, I was one of the main people giving service, and I decided to stop giving service. I decided to step back from the meeting and just to see what happened. And if it floated, it floated. If it didn't, it didn't. And that was a huge thing for me, to be able to let my sense of responsibility go and just leave it to others to see what happened. And in that way, I was taking care of myself. So I didn't leave the meeting. I just stepped back for a while, and that was a wonderful thing, because what I have learnt in ACA and through service is to be more skillful. And I didn't learn how to be skillful in life as a child, and I didn't learn how to be skillful in life as an adult either. I learnt how to survive, how to cope, how to hide, how to disappear, and how to isolate. I really learnt how to isolate. And doing service in ACA helps me belong. I've been in ACA, I don't know, maybe 3 years. And in that time, I am building a sense of belonging, and I am building connection. And that's what service gives me. Service gives me a connection to the fellowship, because I value it, because it's important to me, and because I really want ACA to be there. 30 years ago, when I was in another incredibly desperate position, when I was raging at my child and I couldn't play with my children and I couldn't give them presents they wanted, I was in just an absolute mess. I found CODA, and even though I am really codependent, it is not the answer to my issues. I am still codependent, and CODA is helpful, but not for this real wound that I have got. And if I'd found ACA then, all that time ago when my kids were little, I really wonder what it would have been like for them now, how their life would have been different, how my life would have been different. If I had found ACA when I first went really deeply searching for the help that I needed. And I also do service in ACA because I want the meetings to be there for everyone and for all the people who need it, of which there's so many people need this sort of help, because I didn't find it for a very, very long time, till past my mid-60s before I found ACA, and I would have loved to have found it earlier. That's one of the primary reasons I do service. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks so much, Mary. And our final speaker is Lawrence D. Lawrence, would you like a 1-minute warning, or time yourself, whatever?
Yes, mate, if I could trouble you.
Yeah, no worries at all.
If you could give me 2 minutes, it'd probably be good. Okay. Thank you.
Done. No worries.
Sorry, the phone just started to ring. I'm Lawrence. I'm an adult child. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I feel anxious. When I'm anxious, I swear a lot, because the anxiety comes from a vulnerability, and swearing is something that pushes people away. So in my own weird way, I get some kind of safety out of that. My hero child wants to kick in and wants to sound smart. My mascot child wants to sound witty. You know, my scapegoat child goes, I don't care what you two do, just don't fuck it up. And my lost child, which carries all my vulnerability and my grief, just wants to run and hide in the corner and say, I'm better off dead. So I kind of talk about these things always when I get asked to share at something like this, because I want to drop into my body. I want to drop into my authenticity, and I want to drop into my light, for the want of a better way to describe it. I was 42 years old when I came into recovery. I came in and I'd had 3 suicide attempts in 2 weeks. I'd been lost in addiction for a long time. I'm a survivor of child sexual assault from my father from the age of 18 months to 6 or 7 years old. Then he abandoned me for my sister. And I'm a survivor of Marist Brothers Hamilton, the Catholic Church, and being abused and assaulted there by the brothers there. And so I came in and I came into recovery. I was 42 years old. I was completely lost. And I think of the Tao symbol, the Chinese spiritual symbol, which is kind of teardrop shaped, where one part is black and one part is white. And I conceptualize that as my shadow and my highest self. And when I came into recovery, my shadow was about 98%, and my light was all but extinguished. I was without hope. Suicide was my only way out. And I came into recovery and I was introduced to recovery, and it was a little bit like, you know, when you go camping and the next morning you kind of blow on the coals from the fire last night and put a little bit of grass and the flame bursts alive. And I came in recovery and my spirit was reignited. I think some religions calls that being reborn and all those kind of things, which I kind of think may be similar. I was reignited, and the truth though was that I had no light in my behaviour. I had no light in my sense of self. I had no light. I just had no light. I was all shadow. I was all fear. I was always all survival. And I came in through one of the abstinence fellowships, and I was given the opportunity to have service. And I learned very quickly that this was the only time I could get out of my own way. This was the only time that I could access my highest self. This was the only time that I found an openness and a trust. This was the only time I allowed you to accept me. This was the only time I could begin to learn how to love and learn how to receive love, which gave me the opportunity to then go into vulnerability. I was really fortunate. I went into a treatment centre that introduced me to Pia Melody, John Bradshaw, Terry Gorski, Claudia Black, all the family of origin stuff. And I met my inner child very, very early in recovery because I was triggered for the first time at 42 in my life without the use of, drugs and process. And it took me like a week to recover. So I was fortunate. So I had to learn that stuff about my inner child pretty much straight away. And I had to learn how to take responsibility for myself. I had to learn how to come to an understanding that Pia talks about it. Nobody makes me feel anything. I make me feel myself. Nobody triggers me. I trigger myself. It's a behavior. It's a learned behavior that I took from PTSD, and it's something that I brought into my adult life, fear and doubt. These are the survival traits. So I learned that my life was my life, and I had to stop blaming everybody else. Kick forward nearly 10 years, and I've worked the steps a number of times. I've been in the program. I had various service positions, and my shadow was now only 50% and my light was 50, you know what I mean? Something like that, I don't know, but I just kind of used that. Yet I couldn't accept my shadow. I'd grown up in a transactional environment where, reward, punishment, and it was using bad, clean good. And even though I'd done a number of 4 steps, I couldn't look back and hold myself. I couldn't love myself. I couldn't have real boundaries because I had no connection to myself. I didn't know where I started and I didn't know where I ended. And
That's 2 minutes, Lawrence.
you know, you can't give away what you don't have. And I didn't have self-love. So all my service to all that time was through my hero child. It was transactional. If I am of service, I will be good, I will be rewarded, I will get these things. And it is now another 10 years later. The truth is I'm a founder of the rebirth of ACA in Sydney and all the other fellowships that have come, other meetings that have come from that. I opened the Sydney Intergroup so I could get the 30% discount from the books. What I did out of that came from, I don't know where that came from. That came from something greater than me. And today, Sydney Intergroup runs step recovery, step study groups for the laundry list, for the yellow book, for the loving parent book. We have H&Is in the treatment centres. We're going into jails. We support meetings all across the country. We do all these things together. And I have this sense of belonging. I don't know why I do this. I don't know where this comes from, because I want to sit here. There's a new series, on TV. I just want to sit at home and watch that and eat Tim Tams or chocolate biscuits for those people from overseas. Yet there's something here that drives me that is what I call my higher power. I'm a recovering Catholic. I've had sexual religious abuse. So what I've found is I've found a pathway to my purpose, to my higher self through service. And it has found me. I just kept coming back. I just kept coming back and I kept taking risks. And what I found is the more I go into my vulnerability, the more I show you my wounds, the more I show you my survival traits, the more I show you my shame, the more I heal and the more able I have to have compassion for myself. Because when I'm at my worst, I'm actually still doing my best in that moment. And that's when I need to be loved the most. So when I'm sitting in a group and it feels like the Christmas lunchtime table where everybody's sitting around, everybody's triggered, we're back in our old family roles, we're all vulnerable and we're all freaking out, and we're all in our survival traits, and we have a really dysfunctional intergroup meeting, that's when we need to be loved. That's when we need to hold each other. That's not when we need to be judging each other and judging myself. That's when we need to be loved. For me, the 11th step talks about when we peel away the core of the onion layers, the core is self-love. And I can't give away what I don't have. So I can't give service of loving service away if I don't know how to love myself, if I don't know how to be compassionate to myself. How can I be compassionate to you? How can I sit in a service meeting when somebody is acting out and go, they're scared, what's going on for them, rather than judging them for their behaviour? And if I'm judging you, then how can I ask you for forgiveness? Service has given me the opportunity to have gratitude, forgiveness. It's a wonderful, wonderful pathway to find myself. Because what I believe Richard Raw talks about, you don't find God in your thinking. We don't find God in our false self, in our ego. God is in that other realm. And in that other realm, I can find that through contemplation. And because of high anxiety, I don't get to sit very well. Meditation isn't my pathway. But I find quietness in being with you and showing you my vulnerability. Being with you and learning how to ask for help. Thanks, Omid. Being with you and just being and taking a risk that you won't reject me. I'm grateful you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, everyone, for your individual shares and experience of doing service and belonging to this fellowship. It's inspiring, it's settling, it's nurturing, it's nourishing, You know, I'm not a big, rah-rah person, but, I do celebrate you all for doing this today. It is a highway. It's very wide, and if anybody's new or near new here today, the path is really wide to belong to this fellowship, and it is open. The door's always open. So I encourage everybody here today to be of service rather than do service. Do service for me has been, I want to, as someone else said, I don't know who, so maybe I'm not cross-talking, that I will get something back. I'll be approved of. I'll be allowed into the club if I do service. And what I'm learning is that I can be of service, and then I feel like my bum's on the chair, and I'm more able to listen. I've got a long way to go with listening, because I heard some of the shares today about being in difficult groups, in being in difficult decision making, being in those situations, and I have a long way to go. I realize that, but I'm up for the challenge. So I don't know why I said all that. It was a bit of an ad hoc segue into the next part of our meeting, which is that we would like to invite people to ask the panel any questions that they would like. And I understand you can say no if you wish, but I understand all the speakers are open to, for the purpose of our workshop, the speakers have agreed to take questions related to their shares. So you may decline if you wish, but otherwise it's open. So if you would like to put up your hand, and I'll call on people as they come up. Bill, you're the first cab off the rank. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, my question is how does your loving parent communicate regularly with your inner child?
As the spirit moves you, would someone like to jump in from the panel?
I can start, Claire. I remember one of the first things that stand out to me when I came to ACA was I used to go to a Zoom meeting out of the Netherlands, which was audio only, no video. And it was a big meeting. And they'd read at the beginning the usual preambles before the ACA meeting. But one of the ones that I don't hear at the beginning of meetings as often is there was a reminder, and it was quoted from the Big Red Book, that it was a suggestion that before approaching my inner children, that I first try to develop the inner loving parent voice. And the reason was, according to the Big Red Book, was that if I have not developed my inner loving parent voice or gotten in touch with it, there's a danger that I can either scare off my inner children, my inner teenagers, or invoke their anger and rage and reaction. And I didn't get it, but I heard the message. And I've tried, and it took me quite some time because I felt there was no communication. I didn't hear my inner children speaking to me. Eventually, I got to a point where I worked only on the inner loving parent voice. I'm a parent myself. I have 2 children. I thought to myself, when I'm a good parent, what does that voice sound like? Where does that voice come from? It comes from compassion, patience, understanding, non-judgmental love, unconditional love. What I tried to practice bringing that voice to me and to my inner family. And it was interesting that the first time I really had one of my inner children speak to me was after a particularly difficult triggering event in my recovery. Suddenly, a voice of an 8-year-old self that I was, and it was a time in my life where I was sexually abused as a child. And it hit me right in my face that what was going on in my present day life as an adult and my reaction and my emotions around it had less to do with the present and more to do with this child and what he went through at that age. And that was the first time I sat with that child and I let him know that he's loved, and I listened to his anger, to his hurt, to his fear, to his shame and guilt. And that started the whole process for me. And I don't think I would have had that communication had I had not developed that inner loving parent voice, which was able to receive the communication and the trust that child needed to speak out to me. So that's been my experience so far.
I can share.
Thank you,
as
Omi.
well. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. That was such a great question. My inner loving parent, I actually don't have an inner child. I have an inner teenager. I think my inner child had to grow up so fast in order to survive. It skipped the childhood and just went into teenagehood. And I've been working very hard on actually just kind of almost making the teen younger with love and support and remembering all of that. But my inner teenager is very judgmental. It loves judging the parent. It's almost like the reverse. There's a lot of family fights inside my and I think for me, developing the inner loving parent and kind of having them talk really was a lot about accepting the humanity, and especially that slogan of like, I make mistakes, I am not a mistake. And because perfectionism was one of my drugs for sure, I often actually hear the messages that I adopt from my loving parent. Like I'm every day I'm changing that soundtrack that I learned, and I'm learning new phrases that I put in and put on a loop that are like different and positive. So it's like a daily exercise. And definitely like when I'm in a meeting or I am in like a board meeting with my other fellow board members, I hear what they say and I take it. For example, I know there was one decision and we were all like stressed about time. It was like time sensitive and we were all like, no, it's like this and it's like this and like this. And then like one board member was like, I don't think we have time. We don't have knowledge. I don't think we can make this decision. Why are we rushing? Where is this external pressure coming from? World will not end. We should just take it slow. And it was, specific for that moment, but I also learned, heard it. I was like, oh, that's the voice that I want to have for my inner loving parent. And I'm just going to have that voice speak to every part of me. Because what is the rush? Is there really a rush? Who is imposing this rush? And there was like another time, there was like some comments being made and another board member was like, just a human making a mistake. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna take that, I hear messages whenever I'm in a meeting or like, and I just absorb them. That's my, I'm taking that as my parent because I never heard that growing up. So I now take it because now I can hear it, because for a while I could not hear it. It was around me, but I was so blocked already. I was already so protective. I was already so judgmental. I was already so in my perfectionism, but now I can hear it and I'm just putting it in. I'm just putting it in, adding it to the composition and letting my teenager hear, so the teenager can get younger every day. So one day we can actually play in the sand and have fun and have joy. So that's my daily practice.
Thank you.
I
Anybody
would
else
just
like
like
to
to
share?
say, is that all right if I say what I do?
Go ahead, Mary.
What I do is I walk in the park in the morning, and I use that time as when I am most present. It's my most present time of the day. I walk around the park. I choose a park where there's not many people because I talk to myself the whole time. I walk around going, yep, yep, yep. And what I do is I talk to my inner child, because my inner child is still frozen in fear. She's just terrified. And so I just talk to her and I reassure her. I talk to my other parts as well. I also have my phone with me, and if something comes to me that's really pertinent, I put it in the notes, and then I'll have notes of the messages I want to hear, and I will sit on a bench and I will read it. I'll read it every day, or I'll read it 2 or 3 times as I walk around the park, and I tweak those messages as I get more clarity about what I want her to know and what I want her to hear, because she's not communicating with me except in how my body feels. I don't get words, I get sensations and I get behavior changes, but I don't actually have a communication that some people have. The other thing I do is I talk to her every night as I go to bed, and I talk to her the same sort of thing. I talk to her about what I think she needs to hear about what happened, because when I started ACA, I believed that I was the person that was at fault and that I needed to be a different human being because I was so faulty and so defective, and that what happened to me was my fault. But as I've been in ACA, I've gradually come to see that that isn't the truth, that the problem was actually with my father, and therefore, and also through the family, because my father was so authoritarian. And so as I've come to get greater and greater understanding of actually greater and greater clarity of what actually happened to me, I change what I say to her. And for many months, I went around the park and I was going about talking about what happened to me, because I would find I would get clarity and then I would disappear back into denial, and then I'd move into clarity, then I'd move back into denial. And I would just every day affirm the damage and the harm done, to get to the stage where I could actually accept it. And I don't do that anymore. Now I'm all about the affirming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other questions? Thank you, John. Go ahead.
Thank you. I find that part of my difficulty is having dissociation still from some of my feelings, my inner child feelings. Like I do not have words yet to articulate clearly some of how I feel. I can tell someone what they should do, but it's more difficult for me to tell someone how I feel. You know, like I have an idea of what they can do to make me feel better, but I'm not telling them what I need to feel differently. So I would just ask the panel if you're practicing, you know, with your friends, relatives, family, children especially, how you're communicating what you need and what your feelings are about what you need.
That is a very fantastic question. So let's see who wants. Just jump in, guys, if you'd like to answer.
I had the fortune of starting my ACA journey by going to a trauma center for 3 weeks. We have a center here in Sydney, which is based on the Meadows in Arizona. It's which was set up, I think, by Pia Melody and her husband. And so excellent trauma therapy, grief counseling. You know, they taught me that intimacy means into me see. And that I needed to start letting people see into me. My biggest issue was with my family, my wife, my children. My rescuing codependent behavior was leaving me angry, resentful. All despite my efforts, I just felt wasn't getting the result I wanted. I wasn't getting the feedback or the validation that I was seeking. And what I've been trying to do in the last 2 years is I started with my wife. My relationship with my wife was in dire straits when I came into recovery. And she just wasn't aware of what was going on for me. And when I came back from therapy and I started to tell her about my childhood trauma, my abuse, things that, I've been with my wife for over 19 years that she just didn't know about. And whereas before I talked about this stuff to counselors, and sharing in step work, but I really let the feelings come out. As I was talking about my abuse, the grief, the pain, the anger, the shame, the guilt. I think that has really helped my relationship with my wife because she's much more aware now of why I may be having a bad day. I may not be functioning to her expectations. And I've always been open with my children as well about my recovery in my other program, but I've been sharing, age appropriately about my recovery in ACA as well. And telling them, I used to be like, I can't tell my son I'm scared. I can't tell my son that I'm worried or anxious. Now I tell him. I let him see that I'm a human being and it's okay. And he has a different type of respect for me. Now, of course, I don't feel safe doing that with anybody and everybody. And I'm trying to identify that the most challenging part is finding who I can feel safe and trust to let into me see, to get intimate with. And that's been my starting point.
I can go next.
Thank you.
For me, practicing being vulnerable is because if you have needs, you're vulnerable. And growing up in the home that I did, being vulnerable was the most dangerous thing. So I learned not to have needs or meet them myself in a very imperfect way. Obviously, you can imagine the great results. And the real kind of deep, profound change in my recovery was, giving up the cloak of perfectionism and first starting to feel vulnerable, which was scary, scared the living daylights out of me, in order to even realize what my needs are, then to even be able to formulate them and ask someone for help. Practice makes progress. I had to practice feeling vulnerable and being okay with it and accepting myself and loving myself and being kind to myself. And then I had to practice kind of then formulating that, like you were talking about feelings. For a while, there was like on internet, there's like this circle, a feelings chart that names all these like different feelings. Like there's like, I don't know, like 100 different feelings you could feel. And I would like do a daily, like I would pick it up and I would read, what do I feel today? And I would like go through the whole chart and be like, do I feel this? Do I feel this? Just so I can name what the feeling, so I learn what a feeling could be named, because I was so like not, so that took practice doing that, like I would just do it every day until it became like an easier thing to do, a more automatic things to do. and then that informed my needs. And then I started practicing stating them to myself first, and to my higher power. And then asking my higher power, well, who should I go with this need if I can't, like, sometimes I go to my higher power with a need, but sometimes I have needs from people. And so who do I go to? I rely heavily on my higher power. My higher power has wisdom that I don't have. And when I should go, for example, like the biggest change for me, like you asked about family relations, my relationship with my dad has changed tremendously because of program. We used to not speak, like we had no contact for a while, and now we like speak 2-3 times a week. I love visit him now, but you know, like he's someone, you know, he's still, you know, he is not in program, so it's kind of also, no, you know, like I'm still, I practice asking my needs of him, but it's also kind of knowing like knowing when, and also accepting that he sometimes cannot meet it, and that's okay. Mine is to ask. And then I can also give other people dignity to fail. That does not change my relationship to them or to myself. It's just information. And that was another piece, you know, learning the safety in asking, you know, knowing, like, and when I say like knowing when to ask for my needs, it's not really about the mood the other person is in. It's whether I am ready to ask, right? That's more, am I in the space to ask and be okay with whatever happens? You know, am I with my higher power? And that's when I ask for my needs to be met. And then my higher power always works out things the way they need to be worked out. Sometimes it's not the way I thought they were just going to work out, actually, quite often. But it's cool, you know. So yeah, but I would say for me, practicing being vulnerable first with myself and then being with others, because that opens me to my humanity. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Yasmina. Anybody else like to comment on that question?
One thing that I do that I find really helpful is I have a fellow traveller that I talk to every day. We go through the daily reader, but we also just chat. And what we chat about is how we feel. We chat about what's happening. We chat about what's going on. We chat about our dreams. We chat about our relationships. And so we would talk for at least an hour every morning. And that just, in that fellow traveller relationship, I am building connection. I am building trust. I am building safety. I am building a belonging. And I am also slowly letting her see and know me as I let myself see and know myself, because there's such trust. We've been doing that for, 18 months, 2 years. And it's that, I would say, is one of the most helpful things I've done in recovery, is have a person that I can actually build an authentic, intimate, as into me see, relationship when I have been so isolated and so protective and defended. And I find that incredibly helpful. And because it's a extended conversation, I really can get to explore. And sometimes I do 90% of the listening, and sometimes I do 90% of the talking. There's no structure to it other than we do the daily reader, and that we be respectful and don't tell each other what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, I think we'll have time for one more quick question. Brian, Kay, would you like to jump in? Not sure if
Question real quick, so no.
Sorry?
My question is not quick, so no.
Okay. I just meant not you have to be quick, but we've probably got 7 minutes left. So, okay, you don't want to? No.
No, I'm good for right now.
Okay. All right. Judy, you have a question?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, all the speakers. Goodness gracious. You're such a wealth of information and inspiration. My question is, on what criteria do you discern if there's enough chemistry between you and a new acquaintance to continue trying to build a relationship with them?
That sounds like a big question to me. Maybe we'll just have
It
one or
does.
two
I was
shortish comments
imagining,
about that.
I was imagining a quick list, like boom, 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 a bullet list.
I ask my higher power. I mean, I had the broken picture that people talk about in program of, you know, going to the very wrong people for very wrong things. I mean, I've been in program for a while, and that picture has changed, and it really is now. It's really like this connection I have with my higher power, and now I will meet people, and there will be like a little voice that's like, not a safe person, and I just listen. Like, that's my higher power. I'm like, yep. I'm just gonna, you know, take this one real slow. In general, like these days, I take trust now takes longer for me to establish. Just in general, it's just a safer thing. I just let people be, and I expect people that they will, like, these, like, when I used to expect perfection from myself, and I used to expect perfection from others, and it was all or nothing. And now I accept myself, you know, in a very different way, and accept others as well. Like, they might not always be available, or they might have a bad day and be in a bad mood. And that might come out in a conversation with me, and then it's on me to be like, hey, I didn't really like that tone, like, that kind of bothered me. And then it's up to them to either acknowledge or not, and all of that is information. And then I build my relationship from that information that comes from interactions. How often, how deep. You know, people always, in the end, people always show their true selves, and as they are that day. You know, in a year you might meet them and they might be a different person. And I just I interact with who is there today, and they always let me know. And then I get in touch with my higher power, and I'm like, do I feel good with this person? Do I want to hang out? Maybe, or maybe not, and that's okay. It's all okay. Someone else will hang out with them, and I'll hang out with someone else. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I'll respond. I think the real question isn't, is that other person safe? It's, am I safe? Do I listen reflectively? Is it about me, you saying something and then me responding and asking you about your experience of that, how you feel about that? Or do I respond by talking about myself? And I think pretty quickly we can learn from taking responsibility for ourselves, and we can hear pretty quickly what the other person is like. If they just want to talk over the top of me, if they just want to talk about themselves, if they're not in the present moment, it's pretty quickly and pretty instinctively. So for me, the responsibility is always about me. You know, how it's not about how somebody else is safe, it's how am I safe? How can I create an opportunity for you to be vulnerable? How can I create an opportunity for you to have intimacy, you know? And if I'm not doing it, how can I expect somebody else to do that? Yeah.
Thanks so much,
you.
Lawrence. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We're going to go ahead and do the closing statement. So that's all the time we have for today for this workshop. Many thanks to all of you for listening and holding space. Appreciate it. Listening is often the greatest support we can offer and receive. Thank you to the tech hosts and all those giving service to bring this year's ACA World Convention to us all. Now everyone will be allowed to unmute so we can close with the ACA Serenity Prayer in the language or way that is meaningful to you.
I'm sorry, tech host. Before we do that, would we be able to read the slides about volunteering service and Southern tradition? I can share them on my screen.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I'll paste the. Is it there? Oh, can you guys? What can you see?
Yeah, volunteering for service. We can see.
Okay, I can't see it, but you guys go ahead.
So, are you happy to read that, Lawrence or Mary?
I can, yes.
Thank
Volunteering for service. Doing service in ACA is a great way to strengthen your program. You can help carry the message and make a difference in another ACA member's life by giving service. This ACA World Convention is made possible through the dedication and energy of your fellow ACA members giving service from a place of love. If you feel called to volunteer for service, please click on the link below in the chat box. Follow the prompts to complete the form, which will help to direct you to the committee that best matches with your areas of interest.
Thank you, Lawrence. And Mary, would you be kind enough to read the seventh tradition for us, please?
Our seventh tradition states, every ACA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. We ask that you consider making a seventh tradition by clicking the link in the chat box. We are delighted to announce new functionality and more options have been added on this seventh tradition link. So you can now donate in your local currency in a variety of ways, such as credit card, PayPal, Venmo, JCB, Diners Club, Google, and Apple Pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Apple Play is good. Thank you, everybody, again. And I will now hand it back the second time to Omid to close. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Claire. And let's just take a moment. And to the God of your understanding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change. The courage to change the one I can. And the wisdom to know that one is me.